Ah, salt. The tastiest rock we all eat, and for much of history, a far more precious commodity than one might think. Today, it costs mere pennies for the pound, yet wars have been waged and nations have collapsed over this plain white crystal. But what made this seemingly simple seasoning so vital and lucrative? Well, for a start, you can't live without it, literally. Without salt, your muscles would cramp, you'd get dizzy, and eventually all your cells would just shut down. You might think such an essential mineral would be easy to supply. After all, the ocean's full of it. But turning seawater into usable salt is a lot harder than it sounds. Boiling water famously requires a lot of energy. You could let the sun do it. And that is indeed one method people have used since ancient times. But that, of course, only works reliably in hot, sunny climates near the coast, and only if it's not cloudy or raining. Fortunately, Mother Nature blessed us with another, much more reliable source of salt, in vast deposits deep underground. To be a salt miner was a cruel fate. One that the Romans, for example, routinely inflicted upon slaves and criminals. These two methods are pretty much the same ones we use for salt production today. Yet, with primitive technology, they were painfully slow and laborious. But salt's high cost didn't come solely from the supply side. No, salt had a key utility driving up its demand for virtually all pre-industrial civilizations: food preservation. You see, in the days before refrigeration, keeping meat, fish, and vegetables edible for more than a few days was supremely difficult, unless you dumped them in a big old barrel of salt, that is. As much as 90% of salt production went towards salting or brining food, rather than for seasoning it. And this is what made the salt trade so lucrative. The Romans built great salt pans near Ostia, the port of Rome, and when the city outgrew its local supply, they shipped in tons more from every corner of their empire. So crucial was the salt trade to Rome's survival that the Romans called one of their central roads the Via Salaria, or Salt Road, which is also, coincidentally, where our word for salary comes from, the allowance Roman legionaries were given to purchase salt. In a similar vein, the taxation of salt was a primary source of revenue for kingdoms and empires across the globe, pretty much up to the present day. But it needn't be that way, and you can build your own legendary empire without salt taxes thanks to today's sponsor, Heroes of History. Guide your civilization through the ages with an army of history's greatest legends and myths, including founding SideQuest member William Wallace, because we all have a soft spot for the Scots up north, don't we? The playable roster of heroes is truly vast, and they've all got different abilities, roles, and classes, so putting together the right team for every battle is pivotal. Although I'm sure that strategic optimization would be no hurdle for regular SideQuest aficionados such as yourselves. Perhaps the spiciest mechanic of them all is the Hero Portal, where you randomly summon a hero from your roster in battle. And you're never quite sure who you're going to get. Oh my! There are constant updates with new heroes, exciting events, and thrilling multiplayer battles. But fear not, you can join forces with your friends in an alliance to overcome the deadliest of challenges. And here's the best part: Heroes of History is entirely free. You can download it on iOS and Android, or even play it right in your browser. Very convenient. So, if you love history, strategy, and building awesome empires, you should download Heroes of History for free by clicking the link in the description or scanning this marvelous QR code. But back to our original story. The fact that the salt trade was valuable didn't necessarily mean that salt in itself was all that expensive. It's definitely tricky to evaluate the cost of something 2,000 years in the past, but our good friend Livy conveniently left us a good benchmark. In 204 BC, A kilogram of Roman salt cost about 1/10 of the daily wage of a Roman legionary. If you compare that to the price of salt today relative to modern minimum wages, you'll find that ancient salt was certainly more expensive, but not ludicrously so. It was about 4 times as expensive in ancient Rome than it is in the US today. We have a similar benchmark from 15th century France, around 8% of a day's wage. But there's a catch. In the regions with high salt taxes, the price could be as much as 20 times higher. The French kings relied heavily on this salt tax to finance their wars, but the people eventually got tired of it and their king, leading to the French Revolution, though longtime SideQuest patron Napoleon re-established it soon after. The taxation of salt also brought another empire to its knees, British India, where Mahatma Gandhi launched his famous Salt March that eventually led to India's independence. Taxation notwithstanding, salt wasn't a truly luxurious commodity like the spices of the colonial era, and the salt trade was more about volume than price. The advent of the Industrial Revolution is what made salt a truly cheap commodity. With steam engines to pump water out of the salt mines, dynamite to blast it off the walls, and steamships to haul it across the globe, salt could be supplied much more readily. But the real game-changer didn't come from the mines, but rather from the kitchen, with the invention of canning and refrigeration. Suddenly, storing food didn't require burying it under a mountain of salt, which removed its biggest historical utility. Now, a lot of this missing demand was picked up by industry. Salt would find its way into the manufacture of glass, chlorine, plastics, and all sorts of other wizardry. And so, the age-old quest for this vital mineral has ironically flipped. From a world desperate to secure enough salt, today we're warned all too often that we're consuming too much of it. But anyhow, thank you, my dear friends, for watching. It was a delicious adventure that we embarked on, and you can leave a comment down below if you've got any other delectable ideas for our future destinations. Make sure to check out Heroes of History from this conveniently placed QR code here. It's great fun. And in the meantime, stay tuned for the next palatably briny episode of SaltQuest. Did you hear about the crime in the kitchen? It was assault and battery.